Welcome to rSlash Askreddit, where users answer your most burning questions. Today's Askreddit question is, men and women of Reddit who caught their significant others cheating, how did you do that, and what was their reaction? Our first reply is from Headcase&a-Half. June 1st, 2018. A normal day. A Friday. My husband had kissed me goodbye and gone to work. I was cleaning the house for company who was coming to stay the weekend. The doorbell rang. There was a man at my door who introduced himself as the husband of a woman who my husband worked with. He was there to tell me that my husband and his wife were having an affair. He had busted them about 6 months prior and had told his wife that she had to end the affair. He thinks that she did end it for about 3 months, but then they started up again. When he found out that they were at it again, he called my husband because he knew if he confronted him in person, he'd be in a jail cell for what he'd have done. On the phone, he told my husband to leave his wife alone or else he would come and tell me everything that was happening. Apparently, my husband thought that he was bluffing. So I literally was the last to know. My husband never came home again. He got an Airbnb and a lawyer. The divorce was December 21st, 2018. We had been together for 24 years. It still hurts. This guy was with her for 24 years and doesn't even bother to come back home to say goodbye? Wow, that's cold as ice. Our next reply is from Rabbit Overlord. My ex and I used to share a computer. She was getting messages from her first boyfriend. I didn't bother reading them because I figured he was just saying hi or wanted to know where she was in life now. A couple of months later, I'm on the computer and she insisted that she log out while I'm there. Okay, things feel weird here. Another couple of days pass and she wants to visit her parents. Okay, cool, I keep the kids and she goes off. I get a call from one of my buddies who works at a hotel where my ex and I are both from saying that my wife just checked in with another guy. So, long story short, I divorced her. F you, Stephanie. 10 Croissant replies to that. Good job, it was a brotel hotel. Our next reply is from KJV. I caught my wife after she passed away from cancer. Worst feeling ever. Caught between unending love, mourning, and absolute anger. Oh, ow. God, OP, that one hurts to read. And when someone asks OP how he found out, he says, her phone that she was overly protective of is how I found out. A week before she passed, she took the passwords off her phone so I could respond to her texts and take care of her business. After she passed, maybe a week or two after she passed, I explored her phone and found numerous texts, emails, and sexting. Our next reply is from SCM. This is almost word for word how the conversation went. Are you sleeping with so-and-so? Yeah. Want a divorce? Kinda. Okay, I'll file tomorrow. When someone asks if that's really how the conversation went, OP replies, oh yeah, it was a super civil conversation. We were just both at a point where we were just tired. Let's just rip the band-aid off and get it over with. Our next reply is from Need More Username. I went for my yearly checkup and tested positive for chlamydia. Turns out my ex was sleeping around. And Brooklyn 9 Parks replies to that. This happened to me too. But my ex faked a doctor's note with the words negative, yet he was still prescribed antibiotics just in case. Little did I know that everyone and their mom advises to never take antibiotics unless you really need them. Also, the condom in his wallet was missing, but he insisted he used it with me. I was on the pill. I don't know much about the law in this situation, but this sounds like it should be super illegal. Isn't this like some kind of, I don't know, malicious bioterrorism or something? Our next reply is from Air Levseti. We got married when I was 17 and he was 21. He was shipping off to sea and I was escaping a bad home life. When he came back after his deployment, he wasn't the same person anymore. After about 6 months, he gained weight on purpose to fail his physical so he'd get kicked out of the Navy. Fast forward a year, I'm working full time and he's sitting at home watching anime and drinking during the day and telling me that he was applying to jobs. I was applying to universities when my laptop died on me. I asked to use his to finish an application and while doing so, a message popped up on his Facebook. It was a topless picture of his ex from her. I was shocked and opened it to find that they'd been dating for a long time. They started again while he was at sea in the Navy. He would talk to her and never to me, saying that he never had the time to email. She had sent him a picture because he had said how he missed having big assets like hers to play with, and how mine were just too small, so he felt like he was passionately hugging a boy or a child. I confronted him, and he made a bunch of pitiful excuses. I had my friends come to the house that day and kick him out while I went to work. He then stalked me for the next few years, and made posts on his Facebook about how I was a coward. He sent emails and called from blocked numbers to tell me that a restraining order is just a piece of paper, or that our vows before God made me his property, and stuff like that. Then he bought a gun and started telling our friends that if I can't have her, no one can. I ended up talking to our friends and told everyone conflicting information about where I was going and moved states. I deleted all of my personal social media accounts and lived in fear for years, watching him continually make memes about how he loved his wife and would do anything for her. It took 8 years for me to finally get a divorce from him. And I like personal ads replies to that story. My mom had a boyfriend like that. I used to have a mom. He killed her 11 days before I turned 6. Ladies, especially young vulnerable ladies, if a man ever talks to you like that, please believe him. So my instinct is telling me not to include that story because I think there's a pretty good chance this story is going to get me demonetized. But I'm specifically choosing to include it because there's really good life advice in this story. To all my girl listeners out there, don't ever let a guy talk to you like that. And to all my guy listeners out there, don't ever talk to a woman like that either. Our next Reddit post is from Fuego Diego. This story is remarkable in that it happened before the internet was widely available in the very early 90s, when the world seemed much bigger. My fiancée, Meg, had 1 semester left of college that had to be taken as an internship abroad for her major. She chose to go to Belgium for this internship. I stayed back, and the plan was that I would set up the house, and when she returned that summer, she would move directly in with me and we would set a date for the wedding. So while Meg was off in Europe calling every couple of weeks to check in, long-distance phone calls were super expensive back then. And sending me postcards and letters, I moved into a brownstone, bought furniture, etc. About 2 weeks before Meg was supposed to return, I stopped into a nearby coffee house that I had noticed down the block but had yet to visit. To my surprise, I found that my neighbor from when I had grown up in a completely different city, Claire, was a waitress there. We hadn't seen each other since high school, so we made a plan to meet up after her shift for a cup of coffee to catch up. We met, and Claire told me that she was also engaged to a man named Ben, who was completing his course of study by working on an internship in, you guessed it, Belgium. I couldn't believe the coincidence and told her about my fiancé, and that they had to know each other. Crazy, right? A couple of days later, I stopped in for a cup of coffee and Claire looked extremely upset. She asked if I had time to wait as she had a break coming up and that she needed to talk to me. We went outside and she told me that she had gotten a call from her Aunt Sue the day before. Aunt Sue had returned from Czechoslovakia and that something very strange had happened. While they were touring Prague, her Aunt Sue and her travel group had stayed in a local hotel, and the next morning she had run into Claire's fiancé, Ben, in the lobby with a female companion by the name of Meg. She said that he introduced her as a student from America, that they worked together, but it was very awkward and they both looked completely scared. Claire said that she immediately called long distance to Belgium and after several tries over the course of a day or so, got him on the phone. She asked him about the chance encounter and he said that he had been kind of expecting her call and ended up admitting that he had been seeing Meg pretty much the entire time they were in Europe, spending weekends and holidays traveling around with each other. I was floored. I couldn't believe it. I went home and started trying to call Meg at her dorm in Belgium, finally getting through to her late in the night, early morning for her. I point blank asked her if she was dating Ben. I didn't even explain how I knew about it. She hemmed and hawed for a moment, kind of acting like I was crazy for saying something so nonsensical. But when I said that I knew Claire, she dropped the facade and admitted to all of it. So Ben and Meg had a very bittersweet homecoming. Meg got off much easier than Ben, as Claire had already left all of his belongings on the front lawn. from the day that she found out, which had been pretty much picked over by the time he got back 2 weeks later. I did pick Meg up from the airport. I think at the time I just really wanted to see her face again when I told her that all of our friends knew what a piece of garbage she was, and that I never wanted to see her again. To this day, I revel in how many utterly astounding factors of complete random coincidence went into Meg and Ben being caught. And it's worth noting, they were later married and then later divorced when he cheated on her. The universe works in incredible and mysterious ways. And beneath that, Joe Cool replies to that story with a story of his own. My friend and his wife were in Rome a few years ago on vacation. She got a text while in the shower, and he found out she was cheating. He grabbed his passport, phone, and wallet, took a cab to the airport, and flew home without leaving a message or saying a word to her. He went home, packed his bags, moved out, and filed for divorce. He ghosted her the second he discovered it. The last conversation they ever had was her telling him she was going to take a shower. Our next reply is from Dallas. I owned a house with my fiance. I woke up in the middle of the night and he wasn't in bed, so I went searching. His truck and another vehicle were in the driveway. Then I went upstairs and found the guest bedroom was locked. After barging my way in, I found him with another woman in bed. That bed happened to be my childhood bed. He forced me out of the room, literally grabbed me by the neck and pushed me out and closed the door back. I knew I couldn't do anything at that point, so I called his parents who lived a few blocks away. His dad showed up and another fight broke out. I ended up leaving and staying at his parents until dawn. I moved out that weekend and let the house foreclose. 9 years later, it's finally off my credit report. I'm happily married to an amazing man and we own a beautiful home together. Our next reply is from Randy Johnson's. This first started back in December right before we went on a holiday trip to see my family. She started acting somewhat off, kinda distant, and easily aggravated. I had a suspicion that something was going on, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I snooped on her iWatch. I found some incriminating texts she had with a friend, so I confronted her in January. She tells me that she kissed a guy that she worked with, and that was it. We were having some issues in our relationship, and I chose to forgive her, and we decided to try working on some of the issues we were having. Well, fast forward to this past May, she breaks down that she wasn't honest with me, and that she actually passionately hugged this other dude. We split up after the news. We'd been together 8 years and had been engaged for almost 2 years. Our wedding date was supposed to be effing yesterday. It's still effing killing me. I don't know where to go from here. 2020 can go eat a dick. Man, if years had slogans, this would be 2020's. 2020 can go eat a dick. Our next reply is from Imaringatu. A friend of mine was suspicious of her husband cheating because he went to play soccer with his friends way too often. He always came back having already showered because he would sweat while playing. One day, she sewed his soccer socks together, and when he came back all showered, she saw the socks were still sewed together, so he wasn't playing soccer at all. Our next reply is from Nap17. 4 years ago, I was dating a girl who became distant and disinterested in a lot of things we both enjoyed together. Despite attempts to talk about it, she only grew more distant, then became less available to hang out, and suddenly was working late a lot. I started getting suspicious about cheating when she was on her phone non-stop. Again, I tried to talk about it, but she wouldn't engage. She also just didn't want to break up with me for whatever reason. I was actually going to end it on my own, but one weekend when she was seemingly unavailable, some mutual friends told me they spotted her with a dude from her work and they were all over each other. Coincidentally, she had also lent me her iPad and it was synced to her phone, so I saw lots of texts between these two over that weekend. They were talking about running away together, etc. He was married and her supervisor. Mutual friends were also composed of her coworkers and reported them to HR. They were both forced to do training on not sleeping with coworkers. They were both denied promotion. His wife left him and she moved overseas. It sucked at the time. I was devastated, but karma got them good. That was rSlash and if you like this content, then check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.